screams echoed through the cloud palace of Rainbow Dash's home. The filthy startled, wide awake in a cold sweat, terror surging through her veins. Nightmares again, the seventh time this month, and it was always the same one, the one with the cupcakes. Flashes of memory lanced through her head, wings being hacked off, then ripped from her sockets, needles plunged into her beating heart, adrenaline injected into her body to keep her awake and alerted as the torture went on. The smell of her own flesh cooking, the sight of her own blood and gore spilling from her surgical incised belly, the mastermind behind her terror toying with these glistening organs like they were party favors. She knew in her heart that Pinkie Pie would never be capable of doing such a gruesome act, but that thought didn't help to make the dreams any less vivid. The Pegasus pony sobbed openly, curled up into her blanket, and rocked back and forth as her body trembled with fear. She hadn't told anyone about the dreams, about the lingering feeling of still piercing flesh and the blade cutting bone. Her work had suffered because of her constant night terrors. The nightmares became so powerful that she was simply afraid of going back to sleep. Some nights staying up altogether in an attempt to stave off the horrors for just one more night, and every pony wondered why she spent most of her day napping in the open, in the daylight, because in the shining brilliance of the sun it was the only way she could actually rest. But even then, the black clutches of her fear-added subconscious had begun to creep her even into the relative safety following her through the dream world. Dash whimpered as tears streaked down her face, staining the fur of her cheeks as wide eyes darted around the darkness. Scenery of her room, heart pounding in her chest as breath came before hiccuping sobs, her wings clinging tight against her form as paranormal began to clutch at the edges of her mind. Shadows lurched and moved in her peripheral vision, routine natural noises becoming distorted and echoing within her mind. As a genius surged through her shivering form, this wasn't healthy. Her mind was slowly breaking under the horrors of her subconscious mind, things that no pony should ever even have the slightest thought about chipping away at her psyche. She was starting to crack. Rainbow Dash! Rainbow Dash! Has any pony seen Rainbow Dash around? Applejack trotted through the streets of Ponyville, looking high and low for the town's resident speeder's pony. Bystanders just looked around their heads and shrugged. Horse fathers! Figures that. Pony's nowhere to be seen and you really need her. The cow pony sighed and continued on through the town, hoofbeaks kicking up dust as she looked to the sky for the Pegasus pony. Cornstarn, Rainbow Dash, where in the wild world of Equestria are you? A long yawn from the branches of a tree behind her met her answer, the pony in question dipping a head down and gazing at Applejack from an upside-down position. What, Applejack? What is so important that you have to go to interrupt my napping? The rest of the pony stamped a hoof on the ground, scowling at the Pegasus. Now, you know just why I'm making a fuss and fine on you. You said you were going to bring up a little rainstorm from the crops at Sweet Apple Acres 2 hours ago. Instead, I found you here in a tree snoozing your little behind off. Dash gave a groan, slipping out of the tree and landing on her hooves, shaking her head. She looked more disheveled than usual, her mane a mess, dark bags under her eyes for many a sleepless night. She looked pale, sick almost, yet still tried to put on an air of cheerfulness. She heaved a yawn before giving a dismembered wave to Applejack. Yeah, keep your stone. I'll get right to it now. Sorry and stuff as the Pegasus pony turned and spread her wings to take off. Applejack tilted her head to the side and gave a low frown. Dash, you feeling okay? You look a little, under the weather. Dash grubbed, shrugging her shoulders as she gave her wings a little test flap. Fine." With the only response from the Pegasus, the cow pony behind her stepped forward, giving Dash aside a little nudge with her snout. "You sure about that?" She was cut off by the Pegasus suddenly jerking away from Applejack, darting up into the air as her eyes went wide. "Don't! Don't touch me. I'm fine, honest, just—" She nearly spilled the beans right then and then, but refrained. She couldn't take a chance that the other pony might think different of her because she was being scared out of her mind. Every night, by some stupid nightmare, her body gave a shiver as Applejack looked on with concern. I gotta go." Before Applejack could say anything further, Dash was off like a rocket towards Sweet Apple Acres, leaving the cow pony to just scratch her head in confusion. "That girl ain't right." Another night terror-filled night. Dash lay curled upon the floor of her cloud house, blankets swathed around her shivering form. It was worse this time. She had been flayed open, set upon the dining table of the pink earth pony. A slab of her own meat, dripping with her life fluids, was sheared from her flanks, served to all of her friends, herself still somehow alive enough to be aware of the entire situation, hearing the laughter as the devouring her living form, as fork and knife dug into her innards, tearing her apart. She was nothing more than a slab of meat for her friends' enjoyment. Hiccups punched her through heavy sobs as the Pegasus pony clutched at her head. The visions that her nightmares had been of visiting upon her ingrained within her memory. Every horrible detail, from the fiery pain and of reddened flesh to the sinking sounds of innards being torn and ripped out of her belly, was cased in vivid description. She whined as she lay curled silent upon the floor, sniffing as tears gushed from her eyes. "Just leave me alone. Why won't you leave me alone?" she hiccuped, rocking back and forth. "I don't deserve this. Just stay out. Stay out of my head. Get out of my head, please. Just get out of my head." Fear turned to anger, Dash beating her hoofs against her temples. "Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out!" She wept openly, grinding her forehead against the floor of her room, hoofs pounding and pounding at her heart, bruising the flesh as of frustration, and sleep-deprived brain erupted in an agonizing scream of rage and sorrow. Another night, another crack in the window. Every pony had noticed it. It was in the way she walked, the, the way she talked. Her body language just screamed it out. Gone was Rainbow Dash, that cheerful brass speed dancer replaced by some hollow shell. She drifted aimlessly about over Ponyville, as weeks of interrupted sleep had taken its toll upon her. All of her friends knew that something was up, but none of them knew exactly what to do. She pushed them away, then they had tried to comfort her, lashing out like a wounded animal any time they tried to console her or pleaded to her to get help. Too headstrong, some would say, too proud, others still, but no one of them realizing the gravity of the situation until that one fateful day, the day that Rainbow Dash finally snapped. It has been an unseasonably warm spring and day in Ponyville. Every pony was out enjoying their temperate weather from foils to cloths, and then some, as every pony went about their business, Flower and Bonbon chatting it up beneath their usual table at the cafe, Applejack sailing the first harvest from Sweet Apple Acres as ponies signed up from those ruby delicates, and within the candy corner Pinkie Pie was busy darting to and fro in the kitchen, baking up a storm. She glanced at the clock, every now and then frowning each time before the bell ring to the door finally rang open. A haggard-looking Rainbow Dash entered the shop. "Rainbow, you're finally here! Oh, I've been so worried about you. You always been most mopey, soapy, so I thought I asked you to come visit me so I could make you feel extra super special and cheer you up. But then you didn't show up when I was thought you were going to, and I was all sad. That's when you were going to stay cooped up in your house all day, but then you came out in. And now you're here, and now we can have some fun. Dash merely looked at her blankly before shaking her head and stumbling forward. Whatever, Pinky. What did you want me here for? The energetic Earth Pony danced about the kitchen, over towards one of her many ovens at the candy corner, before pulling the door open, reaching in and pulling out of the tray puffy, fluffy cupcakes with a generous slathering icing upon them. She spun around, grinning widely as she showed the baked goods off to Dash. I made you cupcakes! Dash's pale mind flashed back into the earliest of those nightmares, the most vivid, the most intense. A tray of cupcakes, tasting it, finding motor skills rapidly decorating, stumbled as her body shut down under the effects of some unknown drug. Pinkie Pie looming over her with the trademark grin, eyes gleaming as the world dimmed around her, and here it was, happening for real. Visions became haze as the world began to spin around her. The Pegasus, stumbling back and shaking her head, whispered under her breath, "Oh, no, 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 no!" She backed up, eyes wide as fear, as she shook her head violently, looking round frantic for a any way out. The window, the door. No, no, no! I don't want him. I'll not let you. Leave me out of here. Let me out of here. Pinky merely tilted her head to sides quizzically, slightly setting the tray down and lifting a few of the cakes out and panting them, dancing over the shivering rainbow Dash and offering the plate to the Pegasus. Dash stared at them. They were the same color, same kind. Run! A voice in her head said, "Run, run, you idiot, run!" A hoof flashed out, smacking the plate out of Pinkie Pie's hooves. "I said I don't want them." "I know what you're going to do, and it's not going to work." Pinkie Pie frowned at the discarded cupcakes, but in the typical Pinkie fashion, she just shrugged and went about cleaning them out, humming to herself. "Maybe you don't like avocado icing. That's okay. I made plenty more so we can make some to your likings. Is that okay, Rainbow?" "That's okay. I made plenty more so we can get your liking." Rainbow Dash. She glanced back, the Pegasus pony letting her penguin whimper-noised eyes fixed at the pony before her, pupils neatly pinking as fear and adrenaline coursed through her veins. She was pinned between Pinkie and the wall behind her, chest having the heavy gaps of her sleeve depraved, torpor-filled mind played the scene from her nightmare over and over, of the saw running through flesh, cutting through the bone. Run! Get away! Scalpel piercing her breast, dragging through her own down to her groin, flaying her open like some sick sort of peanut. Move! Just get away, get away, get away! She was hyperventilating by now, no longer seeing a long-time friend, but a horrific, sadist butcher. Do something! And then she saw it, the shining shot protector just sitting there on the table next to her. The voice within her mind whispered to a seduced lover, sounding so wrong, but so right at the same time. Kill her. Dash hesitated. Part of her wanted to scream, another to run, but yet considered the request. Kill her. Before she kills you. Her mind was maelstrom of conflicting through the Pegasus feeling to her stomach, weak in the knees, the beat of her own heart pounding within her head. Take the knife. She stared at it, hoofs slowly stretching out, trembling as part of her still warred, still tired to reason. Take it. Take it. Take the knife. The tears streamed down her face as her hoof hovered above the handle of the tool-turned weapon, as if the last frayed strands of her sanity knew what was happening, knew that it was fighting a battle it was going to lose. Take it! She snatched it up, holding in front of her Pinkie Pie with shaky hooves, her ears flayed back against her head, hiccuping between sobs. Just leave me alone, please, Pinkie, just leave me alone. Pinkie Pie looked at the knife being wielded by her friend for a moment before giggling, bouncing over towards Dash, whose heart sank as the filthy rapidly approached. "Oh, Dash, you're silly, Philly. You got me good with that one. Never one turn on down at the opportunity to prank." She didn't think, her body acting on its own gabs. Pinkie Pie looked thunderstruck as Dash held frozen middle strike, the silvery blade of the knife dripping with red ichor. Pinkie Pie brought a hoof to her cheek, Dash at the white cut, looking at her own blood-stained hoof. "Dash, I told you to stay away. Why couldn't you just stay away?" "Kill her." "No, she's my friend. I can't." "Kill her, and the hurting will stop." "Please, Pinkie, run. Just run. Oh, God, please don't make me do this." "Kill her, kill 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 her." What happened next was a blur, the memory fuzzing in Dash's mind as Pinkie Pie tried to make sense of the sudden attack upon her person. Dash let out a chilling mix between a wail and a scream, catching the earth pony off guard as the blade darted forward, slashing through her neck. Giving Vine an artery as a gout of crimson issued forth from the wound. Shark and surprise registered on Pinkie Pie's face as she gurgled blood, herminging from the wound stain her pink fur with red hue of her lifelessness. Again and again the silver blade struck out, Dash's speed not restricted to her flight as she plunged the blade into the filly before a rapid pace, sobbing hysterically as she carried the squirming and falling filly up. Through the breast, through the bone, Pinkie Pie's struggle slowly faded as blood was spilled out onto the floor. Candy Corner Kitchen, pulling around her, splattered the Pegasus on top her with that hot red fluid. "Just leave me alone," she screamed out, fearing turning to rage. "You couldn't just go away, could you? You had to keep on coming back." Pinkie's struggles grew weaker and weaker, her eyes wide with terror as she strained down her face, needles frozen in a mix of fear and anguish. What did she do? What was it? The icing? Did she use salt instead of sugar? Why, as those slowly glazed eyes stared up at Dash, the strikes of the blade grew slower and slower, the Pegasus finally plunging the impact deep into Pinkie's chest, swimming through the filly's heart, ending her party once and for all. Dash had for a breath, limbs shaking as she looked down upon her handwork. Blood stained her fur and feathers, painting her deep out a wail of anguish as she realized the gravity of what she had just done. Arms wrapped around the virtuous filly, Dash holding the still warm corpse of her friend tight. "No, no, 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 I didn't. Oh, Celestia, no. What have I done? What did I do?" Dash's body shook as her chest heaved with each gut-wrenching cry of anguish, suddenly letting go of Pinkie's body and letting out an ear-piercing shriek of terror as she looked at her own hooves. Pinkie's body and letting out an ear-piercing shriek of terror, she looked at her own hooves. Blood viscera coated them, dripping down through her fur, the scene straight from a horror movie. Laid her eyes, she skittered backwards, slipping in the pool of blood of her own creation, slamming cheek first into the pile of gore, before finally gaining purchase and dragging herself over against the farthest wall from Pinkie's still form, her stomach mutinying up on her as minute as she hiccuped, wide, terror-filled eyes staring at the scene made her own her hoof. Murderer, another in hundreds of years. Voices within her mind crawled and whispered to her, the words spinning around as she seemed to stand still for her last vestige of her sanity, being plucked apart by one until that final thread finally snapped. Hooves gasped at her head, matting her rainbow-colored mane doing with blood and ichor, the Pegasus rocking back and forth in the blood kitchen as a gay, crazed grin spread across her muzzle, humming disjointed to herself, giggle as the ghastly he snorted at the spooky ha ha hee hee Dash drew her head back, curling legs against her chest as four limbs wrapped around them. Psychotic laughter issued forth from the speedster's Pegasus as her words shattered around her, psyche and spirit broken and splintered.